Hey everybody. It was a terrible storm last night. Oh my gosh, lightning and thunder and all kinds of stuff. And it's going to be a lot of 90s in the next week, a couple weeks. Oh wow, we're not used to having stretches that high because in the South that doesn't sound like much to people in the West, but our humidity's high. And so 90 can actually feel like 105. So, it makes a huge difference. Well, somebody said, I hate that term. It is what it is. Well, it is. I mean, the facts, it just is what it is. We're having a terrible garden year. I told you, you heard about that. Before, in the past, I've had every predator known to man, every garden pest, voles and rabbits and deer and bean beetles and hornworms and Japanese beetles, every pest known to man has invaded my garden. And I've made efforts that have kept them out for a long time, and then they came back. Well, last year we had almost none, except for the deer who are always here. We had no pests, really. I saw one bean beetle, I think, if that, and I saw one Asian Japanese beetle, and that was it. So we had okay garden year last year. This year, I've been hit with everything. Oh, goodness, hang on. Like every garden year is different. I keep saying that. It's so true. And most of it's something you can't control. I have been able to keep certain pests out with using some things, and sometimes I can't. Green Thumb Prepper, GTP, up there in Canada. Hey, friend. I had never seen a hornworm in this garden, and I still haven't seen a hornworm. I've been looking. Trust me, I've been looking. In both gardens, and I haven't got one yet. Used to be I'd feed them to my chickens, and that's great protein for them, but I didn't see one. And now I just noticed that my one pear tomato in the outer garden is getting eaten, and it looks like hornworm damage. I think that is hornworm damage because it ate half of a tomato, half of a pear tomato, a green one. So I think that is hornworm, and it probably is hornworm. So I'm going to go ahead and get an organic deterrent with BT in it, which is worm and caterpillar eradicator, and I'm going to see if I can use that on the tomato plant. So I think you're right about the hornworm, and at least in one garden for sure. The other one I'm not too sure, but because I've seen deer damage do the same thing in some things. But whatever it is, I'm going to try to fight it, and I don't try to save the tomato plants that I do have growing. So yeah, I hadn't thought about hornworms in a while, but because I didn't have any last year, so it wasn't really on my mind. But I do remember those nasty, big, squishy things. Disgusting. Anyway, so it is what it is. It's gonna take time to figure it out. We got more summer. Boy, do we have more summer, and we'll see. So, but that's neither here nor there. Sometimes you just can't save it, and you just have to let it go. Okay. I wanted to mention something about health deal here. I had been remember I told you I got put into that ridiculous chronic care management without my permission or my knowledge by this other doctor. And so I thought I wanted to go to another doctor. So I went to another doctor at a different medical group. And she's a DO. And first thing I thought was, I hope she don't try to give me any dietary advice, because each of her thighs is as big as my waist, and she's very bottom heavy. But it's like I've only had one doctor that really understood the way cholesterol works now, and what it's always worked. But they all the studies that showed a correlation between heart disease and fats and cholesterol were fraudulent. Go to Dr. Anthony Chaffee and you'll find out all about the fraudulent studies. And there were studies that were ignored that showed the opposite. So, the food industry, the drug industry, they got their dog in the fight, and they're going to skew the results however they can to benefit themselves. And that's what was going on. But I went to her, and I thought, I'm not really that impressed. She's okay. And they were going to do my blood test because I have an annual thyroid test. And I said, nobody's ever done a complete thyroid panel for me. Well, she did put in free T3, which usually they don't seem to do. However, she forgot the TPO, which is an indicator of if your hypothyroidism is part of Hashimoto's, an autoimmune disorder. And I don't think I have Hashimoto's, but that marker is not in the testing. And I'm noticing, and there were several readings that were high that have never, they've marked as high, and I've never seen high. My CO2 in my blood was marked a couple of points high. My eosinophilic white blood cell count was considered high. That could be a lot of different things. And then they marked my T4 levels of my thyroid as high. It was 1.59. Now, I dug out test results from two other doctors. One, my very favorite doctor who died, and I found a blood test from 2017, and it was about the same thing, and it was marked as optimal. I looked at charts online, and the range is optimal. It goes up to 1.67, and below that is basically optimal or normal. They say normal is normal, and there's optimal. The chart called my reading optimal. Now they're calling it high. Now this doctor she did her own labs. She didn't send me to the regular lab I go to in town. She did them right there. Convenient, yes. But was it wise to do that? Their range or their parameters went up to like 1.4 something. Whereas it's always been 1.6 something. So my reading by the old way is not high. And my medication doesn't need to be changed. So anyway, and I mentioned the study to her. I said, I'm not worried about my total cholesterol, my HDL, and my what they call good cholesterol, and my triglycerides are great. And then, and I said, then there's the studies that happened not too long ago where several studies showed that there was no correlation between cholesterol and heart disease and early death. And people with higher LDL readings, now LDL is not cholesterol. It is the carrier of cholesterol to the cells that distributes over the body. LDL is not cholesterol at all. It's the carrier for it. But they call that bad cholesterol. No, you got to keep it down to 50. Well, unfortunately, tests have shown that the lower ranges of that raise your chance of early death by 20-30%. It's insane, the amount it raises your chance of early death. Higher LDL, they don't have early deaths. They don't have a proclivity to die early. It's obvious she's still going on the same old tired statistics from way back when they were always putting everybody on statins. And want to get on a statin? I said, no, I don't want to get on a statin. I will never take a statin. But anyway, so I'm calling some of these readings into question here. And I thought, well, okay. And they wouldn't tell me my results on the phone. I thought that was outrageous. They wouldn't tell the patient her results or if there was anything to be concerned about on the phone. So she said, you want me to mail them to you? I said, yeah, go ahead and mail them to me. I said, I don't like that. You don't have a patient portal where I can go check them? No, we don't have that. It's like, I don't like that. I've always had the patient portal where I can go check. This is the days of telemedicine. Why would they not have a patient portal, right? So anyway, I have an appointment Thursday, a couple days to discuss that. And she wanted to know what that study, she said, I would be interested to see what that study was. And I have an entire notebook paper sheet of studies, one after the other, showing that. Videos from this doctor, that doctor, all these, and even the heart surgeon, Philip Ovadia, talking about cholesterol. It's not the bugaboo, it's sugar, not the cholesterol, it's the sugar. The sugar industry paid for a lot of those studies. They put the blame on fats, not sugar. It's sugar. And anything turns into sugar. So anyway, I'm not too sure what I'm going to do about this doctor. You can say, okay, I'll listen to you, but I'm not going to go on no medication, and, I'm not worried about my cholesterol. Well, this time my cholesterol, according to their test, was really high. It's much higher than it's ever been. It's always been like even when I was eating sugar in my diet, wasn't eating the way I do now, and was struggling with it, my cholesterol was like 200 or 202. And that's when she put me on a statin. That was years and years ago. And after I researched that, I went, oh, I'm not taking that, no. But the last one, a year ago, was like 240. Okay, I said, okay. I don't find that a problem. My HDL is 60 and my triglycerides are 55. Those are perfect. I'm not worried about the LDL or total cholesterol at all. So she just didn't really agree with that, of course. I can tell she didn't want to say nothing, but she didn't agree with it. And so now she's going to get an earful. If she will look at, there's study after study, and most of them were published from 2019 onwards. So it's this information where, you know, it's amazing the lies that were told to all of us about this. And we're going to see if we butt heads too much. I don't know. I'm going to have to start interviewing doctors before I go. And I mean really interview them. They won't have time for that, you know. We got to get the assembly line going. And they wanted me to come back in and get my test results. They wouldn't even tell me, the patient, on the phone. It's like, why? These are my results. So honestly, I'm going to take her the other lab results from the past, and that show the range of acceptability is much different than the range that her lab is doing in her own personal office. And we'll see where we go from there. It's still not going to change anything. I'm going to eat the way I do. No, I don't eat seed oils. I don't eat sugar. Only every once in a while in the summer when I have a problem with heat and high humidity, and I'll start to get this terrible headache, and I'll have to cool down fast. And the fastest way to cool down is actually a popsicle. I mean, they have these slushed ones, slushed texture, meaning not icy and crunchy, in Walmart. And yeah, they're terrible for you. But if I'm about to have a major headache, I just go ahead and I take that, and it's not, you know, it lowers my temperature down from the inside out, and it actually can stave off that horrible panicky feeling like a hot flash. Well, I don't have hot flashes anymore, but I still don't do well with the heat. But I don't have the seed oils. I don't eat sugar. I don't eat grains. I don't only eat fruit and season usually. Not much of that. I mean, a handful of blueberries off the bush is basically what I'm talking about, and strawberry too if I could find one. And I don't eat fast food. I don't take in seed oils at all. So I have a pure whole food diet of beef, butter, occasionally a little tuna, definitely a lot of eggs, and cooked in butter or beef tallow. That can't be bad for you. And it does make me wonder why, when I was a child, when I was at home still as a teenager, why I didn't have more health issues. Because my mother, I grew up on grass-fed beef and farm-raised pork and eggs and all that stuff. But my mother developed a sugar addiction. And then she started putting sugar in everything, including the vegetables. Now, that's kind of a southern thing, too. So my husband and I both grew up with grandmothers and mothers who put sugar. Now, his mother, I don't think, did put a lot of sugar or anything. But she consumed a lot of seed oils and a lot of really bad stuff, and smoked like a chimney and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, maybe when I was younger and I was eating those really good farm-raised foods, fresh, maybe it sustained me through a lot of my bad eating habits. I don't know. Health in the early stages of your life is extremely important. Most people start out with feeding their kids crap, like Coca-Cola in a bottle. I've seen that. That's disgusting. Anyway, so I don't know what, what I'm eating, and what I'm trying to say is what I eat cannot make me unhealthy. And if my cholesterol is 300, okay, I have plenty of evidence to back up the fact that that's not a problem. I know people who have I've heard of people who have a cholesterol of like 550 and have zero plaque in their arteries. So if you're being told that something's out of range on a lab test, look up the accepted ranges, because they may be incorrect about the ranges. The parameters may be wrong. Often they are. Often they're too broad. And then sometimes they're just too narrow. It just depends. And it's not one size fits all. Eating a ketovore, mostly carnivore lifestyle, doing a diet that way, it can't make you unhealthy if you're not taking in all the bad stuff. And I don't smoke and I don't drink, and I don't have a problem with people who drink. Smoking I have a problem with, because it's so deadly. But I'm not going to argue with these people. I'm just not going to accept what they tell me when I know it's not true. And I'm going to hand her the evidence. She asked to know what the study was, and I didn't remember what the study was to tell her the exact study off the top of my head. So I went and I got the information that she requested, and she will get it. We'll see how that goes.